My future wife carries tears behind her, sad eyes hidden beneath steady smiles, resting quietly without noise, never asking to be seen. Her eyes learned endurance early, pain folded into silence, hope wrapped in patience, strength practiced, without applause, tears stored carefully inside. She smiles to make peace, not to hide weakness, but to protect tenderness from careless questions, from rushed understanding. Those tears are not fragile, they are restrained storms held by discipline, shaped by experience, softened by empathy. Each tear remembers something, a word not spoken, a need not answered, a moment passed alone, a hope delayed. She never begged loudly. She waited, with dignity, trusting time incorrectly, believing love would notice, without being told. Her sad eyes speak softly. When no one listens, they carry stories quietly of giving too much and receiving too little. She loved before safely. She hurt before openly. She learned restraint painfully. She matured prematurely. She survived gracefully. I see those hidden tears not as weakness, but as proof of depth, proof of loyalty, proof of endurance. I do not rush her healing or drain her silence. I sit beside it, allow space gently, listen without fixing. My future wife deserves calm. After all that quiet ache, she deserves laughter. Unguarded, sleep without worry, love without fear. Those tears will soften someday, not disappear completely, but rest easier, knowing safety exists, knowing care is stable. Her sad eyes will brighten slowly, naturally. When trust proves consistent, when love stays present, when patience feels real, I choose to honor them, those tears behind a S, by staying steady, by being gentle, by never looking away. Those tears did not vanish. They simply learned discipline. They waited for safety. They learned silence before trust. They learned patience before release. Some nights they surface quietly, when rooms are finally still, when strength no longer performs, when the world stops watching and breathing feels honest. She cries without sound, not because pain is small, but because she was taught that endurance meant quiet and survival meant control. Her tears know restraint. They do not fall suddenly. They arrive after reflection, after internal battles, after acceptance settles. I notice how she blinks longer, how she looks away briefly, how breath catches softly, how shoulders tense then relax, how composure returns practiced. These are not passing emotions, they are memories stored of being strong too early, of loving without safety, of hoping without assurance. She never dramatized her pain. She adjusted instead, lowered her expectations silently, carried weight inward, protected everyone but herself. My future wife grew careful, not cold, not closed, just wise, with vulnerability, selective with trust, intentional with giving. I do not ask her to explain every tear or to justify sadness. I understand that some pain speaks through presence only. When she feels ready to speak, I will listen without interruption, without defending anyone, without minimizing her truth, without rushing resolution. I remind her gently that her tears are allowed, that softness is not weakness, that needing support is human, that rest is deserved. The sadness behind her eyes does not repel love, it deepens it, because it invites responsibility and demands consistency. I promise not to disappear when her sadness surfaces, not to become distant, not to change my tone, not to label her difficult, Healing does not mean forgetting, it means remembering safely, in the presence of care, in the absence of fear, in the rhythm of patience. Some days her eyes will glow, other days they will cloud. Both are welcome here. Neither requires explanation. Neither reduces her worth. Her sadness deserves gentleness. Not fixing, not urgency, just companionship, just reassurance, just time, as love stays predictable. Little by little, those guarded tears loosen, not because pain disappears, but because trust grows. And one day she will notice that crying feels different now, not lonely, not frightening, but held, and finally, safe. Those tears begin to change, not fewer, but lighter. They no longer fall into emptiness. They land on understanding. They land on presence. She learns she is not alone, even when quiet, even when tired, even when memories return, even when old ache whispers. Her eyes rest more often, no longer scanning exits, no longer preparing defenses, no longer bracing disappointment. They soften gradually. Silence becomes comfortable, not heavy with fear, but gentle with trust, a shared quiet where nothing must be proven. She allows herself pauses, moments of vulnerability, small confessions spoken softly, needs named without apology, feelings shared before they harden. When sadness visits now, it is met with steadiness, a hand held longer, a voice calm and warm, a presence that does not leave. She learns that love can stay, even when she breaks down, even when strength rests, even when answers are missing, even when healing is incomplete. Her tears still remember past lessons, but they no longer rule present moments. They, for surviving still kind, for trusting again slowly, for opening heart wisely. I do not wish to replace her past. I walk beside it, respecting what taught her how to love better. With me she rests, not performs, not proves, not overextends. She simply exists. Her love arrives steadily, without fireworks, but with permanence, with honest, with depth. The woman who loved before me is strong, not loud, not hardened, just quietly resilient and deeply real. And loving her now means honoring all of her, not just the present, but the journey behind it that made this love possible. She brings awareness with her, not suspicion but insight, not fear but caution learned, not distance but discernment carried with quiet dignity. The woman who loved before knows. Warning signs early because she expects pain, but because she recognizes patterns that once cost her peace. She chooses harder conversations over comfortable silence. She asks questions gently, seeking clarity, not control, understanding, not dominance. Her love is intentional. It arrives with bounda, deep people out, but to keep herself whole and love healthy. She no longer gives endlessly, without reciprocity or care. She learned balance through loss, learned self-respect through heartbreak, learned strength through choosing herself. Sometimes her eyes search for consistency in actions, not reassurance in promises, because words once collapsed under real-life pressure. I welcome those questions. They are not accusations. They are bridges being tested. Before weight is trusted, before vulnerability spreads fully, the woman who loved before is not less romantic. She is more grounded. She values presence over drama, reliability over intensity. Joy comes quietly to her, but when it arrives, it feels safe and real, not rushed or fragile, not waiting to disappear, She may hesitate sometimes before leaning fully, but when she does, she stays with loyalty, not wavering affection. Her past made her careful. Her present choice makes her brave, choosing love again despite experience. Despite the cost, she remembers. Despite the risks, she knows. I understand the difference between being guarded and closed. She is not closed. She is wise with access and gentle with hope. She does not chase love, she meets it steadily, side by side aligned, matching effort and values, pace and intention. Silence no longer scares her. It invites reflection. Space no longer threatens.